Okay, so for this task, we're going to simply be creating exterior elevations. Now, if you remember, the template, again, already came with some exterior elevations created for you. It was great when we were first learning in the last exercise to already have those views created, and it will be great in the future to have a template that already creates these views for you. But you need to know how to create your own exterior elevations. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here, select all of these, and hit delete. And now you no longer have any exterior elevations. So I'm going to teach you how we get those back, or how we create them from scratch. The best way to do this is to find a plan view. So I'm just going to go to the main floor plan. And if you remember right now, the view is cropped. So let's turn on the crop region. And so you can't see anything outside this little crop box. So we're going to turn off the cropping. We're not going to hide the crop region. We'll keep the crop region showing, but we're just going to turn it off so that the crop region isn't actually cropping. So that button is down here that says do not crop view. And we'll click that button. And now the things that used to be cropped are showing again. And you can see little remnants of our old elevations. So I'm going to select all of these and I'm going to delete those. Okay, so now that we can see a view that shows a little bit more around our floor plan, we're going to place our exterior elevations. So again, where to start to make a new view is the best place to go is the View tab on the ribbon. So you'll come up here to the View tab, and over here there is an elevation button. So if you click the drop down arrow, you can click elevation, and now it's going to give you, when you move your cursor around, it's got this little symbol. And before you do anything, you want to make sure that it's the right type of elevation that you're creating. So if you go over here to the properties, we're just going to make sure we've selected building elevation. Now what's going to happen is you can see when your cursor, when you bring it close to the building, it will automatically point the arrow towards the building. So wherever the arrow is pointing is where the view is going to be looking. So right now, if I clicked the button, the view we'd make wouldn't really show anything because it's looking the wrong direction. So if you hover it near the building, it will create an elevation that looks at that side of the building. So let's do that for all four sides, because we want to make sure we show every exterior portion of our building. That's the purpose of an exterior elevation, is to show the finishes and the entire design of the exterior of the building. So now that we've placed those, let's talk about them a little bit. So if you haven't looked at plans before, you won't know this, but these heads are meant to tell you a couple things. So the arrow is the first thing. It tells you where the elevation is looking, right? So these are elevation tags. So I should explain, let me rewind. When we clicked the button, Revit did two things. It created an elevation, and it also created an elevation tag and placed it in this view. Those are two important things, and they're linked. If you delete this tag, it will delete the view. So they're linked together, but they're not the same thing. This is a view tag, but the view itself is over here under the elevations. Do you see how it created elevation 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A? Those are the generic names that Revit was just generating as you clicked the 4 times around here. Okay, so let's look at, again, the exterior elevation tag. There's the arrow that points to show which direction we're looking at the building. And then there's a top and a bottom area. The top area will tell you what sheet the view is on. Right now, the view is not on a sheet. You can look over here and you can see that there's no blue square, which means this sheet or this view hasn't been placed on a sheet. So right now it's blank. And then the bottom will tell you what number view on the sheet to look at to find this exact view. So I'll explain that better once we put it on sheets, but let's continue what we're doing. So now we have 4 elevation markers and we have 4 elevation views over here. So what we should do is name all of these so that they make sense, because what Revit came up with isn't good. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to go look at the view and make sure it's been cropped okay. So you can get to the view in a number of ways. You can go to the browser and look at it that way, or I'm going to close it, or you can hover over the arrow, and if you double click, it will take you to the view. Okay, so it's pretty easy to get to the view. Now what we want to do is we want to crop it and make sure it looks good. So we're just going to make sure we get our whole roof in. I'm also going to delete these levels that we put in that are nonsense. I'm also, just because I like to keep things tidy and professional, I'm going to make sure our levels line up. These aren't required for the assignment, but they're habits you should get into, because not doing these types of things will drive an employer nuts. Okay, so we'll bring in the sides. And now you can see for some reason it's not showing the entire roof. So we need to fix that problem as well. So now we've got it cropped, but let's talk about why it's not showing the entire roof. Because just like a floor plan, there are 6 ways that it's cutting the model up. So in a floor plan, when we move the crop region, it was slicing off, the left and the right side and the front and the back of the model. And then the view range cuts the top and the bottom. In an elevation view, the same principles apply, but it's a little bit different. The crop region is cropping, in this case, it's cropping the left and right, but the top and bottom are being cropped by this crop region. Whereas in a floor plan, that was front and back, right? Because we were looking down, but now we're looking at the building. So this is what the view range used to control in the plan view. But in an elevation view, the height of the cropping is controlled by this crop box. So we've cropped the top and bottom, left and right, but now it leaves front to back of the view. How is the front and back of the view being controlled? So you can click on this. Well, actually, let's go to our main floor plan right here. And I don't remember what view we clicked on. Was it this one? Yep. Okay, so let's go back to that. If you click once on the arrow, you're going to get a new set of drawing elements. There's this line right here. That symbolizes the front of the view. And then this represents the back of the view. So you can see how it's cutting the house to before the roof finishes. So maybe let's go back to this view and let's name the view. So you can see right here, right now it's named Elevation 3A. You can right click here and rename it, or you can, with nothing selected in the view, you can look over at the view properties and you can find the view name right there. So I'm going to name this Front because it's the front of the house. And I'm going to click OK. And now let's go to our 3D view. Oh, and let's bring back everything. Let's reset our temporary hide that we did in the last video. And now I can see the full model. But I would like to see what our front elevation view is actually cutting. So I'm going to go on the home button and I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Orient to View. And I'm going to hover over elevations and I'm going to click the front elevation. So do you see how it's cutting the back of the view is too far, or it's not far enough. It doesn't encapsulate the whole house. And the front of the view is good because it's in front of the house, but the back of the view needs to be in the back of the house. So let's go back to the main floor. Let's click our arrow again. And you can see if we just drag this arrow back, now if we go look at our view, now it goes all the way to the top of the roof. And if we go back to our 3D view, and if I right click on the house and I say Orient to View, elevation, and I go to front elevation, it'll refresh. And now you can see it's showing us that that view is cutting the whole house. Now, I don't think I've taught you this before. So if you've cropped a view, if your view has been cropped like this, you can also move it around. This doesn't actually affect the elevation anymore. It only affects this 3D view, but you can move this around in order to see inside your building if you like. And then when you're done, you can come over here, deselect everything, so you're in the view properties. And if you come over here, you can turn off the section box, and it'll take that away. Another thing I think I want to do is I hate that the template gives you these, they're called scope boxes. They're outside of this, what the topics we're going to cover in this class, so I'm just going to delete them because they're just distracting. Okay, so there we go. So let's go back to our main floor plan and let's click on this view. So now everything's looking pretty good. We've cropped it. Let's bring the crop region down just a little bit more. This looks great. We've cropped it. We're only showing the building. So let's turn off our crop region now. The other thing you could do is you could again change the visibility graphics. So we could do that either by right-clicking here and say hide the category, so the reference planes aren't showing anymore. In elevation view, you typically like to show the levels, so you'll keep those on most of the time. And if you wanted to get fancy, you could come down here and there's a little button called shadows. They're currently off, so if I click it, you can turn the shadows on. So that's an option. The other thing you could do is you could turn the colors on. So if you go down to this box, the visual styles, you click it, we can do consistent colors, and now it's colored and shaded with the shadows. And maybe you don't like how dark the shadows are. You can control that. So if you go back here to this box where it says visual style, if you click on that box, at the top it says graphic display options. Now I'm not going to go through all of them right now. You can play with those on your own or maybe look up another video on YouTube about each setting, but you can just play around with it if you want and it won't hurt anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm interested in the shadows. So you can see cast shadows has been turned on. We turned it on with that little button down here. And then the next thing you want is lighting. So do you see how shadows, you can turn the shadows up to be darker or you can take them down lower. I like them around 10 to 12% or at a 10 to 12 range. And then I click, you can always click apply and it will show, it'll give you a preview of what it'll look like. So you can see if at 50 it was really dark. At 30 it'll lighten up a little, and I like them really light. I just like it to just hint at the fact that there's a shadow there. So that's how I tend to like mine to look. But you can make them however you want, and whenever you work in an office, they're going to have their own standards. Sometimes offices don't like their elevations to be colored. All right, so now we just need to do that really quickly with the rest of the elevations. So I'm going to click here. If I click on that arrowhead, once again, I can pick how far back it goes, and I'm going to drag it all the way across. And you can also move these little dots to be closer. Oops. Let's click on that again. Click on that dot and bring it in. That will make it so what that's doing is it's changing the side crop region, but you can do it in floor plan. So instead of having to click into the view, do you remember how last time we had to bring in the sides? You don't have to do that anymore. Now all we have to do is crop the top and the bottom. Let's hide the category here. And there we go. And if you want to apply more of your other settings, now you can do that. We're going to turn the crop region off, and it also needs to be renamed. So we'll go over here and we'll rename it. This was the left side. The best practice is not to say front, back, left, right. The best practice would be if you knew where north was, you'll say the north elevation, south elevation, east and west elevation. It's best not to use relative words like left, right, front, back, because what does left mean? It depends on which direction you're looking, but north is always north, west is always west. So it's better to use more definite terms, but since this is, it's not a real project, we don't know where north is, we can use, this is the best we can do. Okay, so let's go back to the main floor again, and I'll show you one more thing. So on this view, now you've learned we can set the front and back plane. Oh, the other thing is, if you want to move the front plane, sometimes the front plane might accidentally be inside the building, and if that happens, it'll look like this. See how it's cutting the building open? You don't want that. So in that case, all you would do is you grab this blue line and you drag it to the front of the building. And then we make sure the back clipping plane is cut, encapsulating the whole building. Then we can pull in the side crops. And the other thing you can do is you can even name it from here. So if you click on this little arrow, it actually brings up the view properties over here. So you can go to the view name and you can name it back. And there you go. So now all we have to do is click on this and change the top and the bottom. And then we're going to turn our crop region off. And I'm going to hide the category in view. All right, so we got one more to do. You're going to get really good at it because this is repetitive. Oops. I always accidentally grab the line rather than the dot. There we go. Let's name it right side. And then let's double click to go into the view. And we'll quickly fix the top and bottom crops. We'll turn the crop region off. And then we'll hide the element, or hide the category. Okay, now we've got all of our views. Now let's see if we can put them all on one sheet. So let's make a new sheet, 30 by 40, 30 by 42. Remember to always fill out your title block. Normally you would adjust the number, but we're fine just going in order. And we need to name this, so we'll call it exterior elevations. That's elevations plural. We're going to try to put all of the elevations on here if they can fit. So let's drag the front. Okay, this is another principle I'm going to teach you. Typically, when you place elevations on a sheet, if it's possible, you like to place them in an order, not just randomly. So if we're looking at the front elevation here, we're going to pick what direction we're going to look around the building. So I'm going to say we're going to look at the front, and then we're going to look at the right side, and then we'll look at the back, and then we'll come back around to the left side. You could do the opposite. You could start with the front, then go left, back, and then right. But it's not good to just do the front, then the back, then the left and the right. It's kind of random. It's not so bad on a small house, but like when you're doing a high school like I do, you want to help the person that's looking through the drawings understand they're going around the building in a circular fashion so that it makes sense, all the views that they're seeing. If you just randomly placed, like, because there could be like 15 exterior elevations. If you just randomly place them on a sheet, it's not easy for someone to understand what's happening. So a best practice would be to pick one of the sides and go with it. So I have space on the right side, so let's put the right side elevation there. And hopefully it's not fitting very well. So you'll also notice it will try to align the views. If you move it around, you'll get this blue dotted line to tell you that they are aligning with each other. So I'm going to do the best I can to put it on the sheet and make it fit. And then now we would put the back next down here. That would be the next one in line. And then we'll do the left side. And we want to make sure the roof levels align and everything. Okay, so what we can do is, this is where it's nice to be able to go into and activate the view. So let's activate the front view, and let's just pull these in a little bit tighter so that they're not running into the other view. And then we can deactivate the view. This is just good drafting. This makes things tidy. Let's activate this view. Let's give it a little space to breathe on the sheet. We don't want the words running into the building, so maybe we just worry about this side. Then we'll right click and deactivate the view. So now we can space these nicely. And then don't worry about the labels yet. We'll fix those last. So we'll go in here. Let's do the same thing. Let's bring this side, looks mostly okay. All right, we'll deactivate the view. Oh, sorry. Instead of right clicking to activate the view, you can double click on the view and it will activate it. I forgot to tell you that shortcut. All right, and then right click and deactivate the view. And now we can space these so there's a little breathing room. So that's looking better. And now let's fix these views down here. So you click on the main view, then you can drag this line. We'll do the same thing here. Drag these lines shorter. If you like them long, you can keep them long. You don't have to do them short like me. What's most important when you draw is that you're consistent in your set. So don't do one method one place and a different method in another. All right, so now we need to move the tag. So I'm going to click on the tag, and I'm maybe just going to move it right there. And then this one will snap. See how it wants to align with that one? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to align it that way. And then this one, it will align both with the one above and this one below. So let's try to line it with the one above and the one below. And then this one, let's align it with the one above it till we get that blue snap mark. There you go. So that is how you would properly place the elevations on a sheet. And you can see they were automatically drawn at 1/4 inch scale, which is usually good for residential. So you'd want to keep it at a 1/4 inch scale, if possible. Now, when we start to get into bigger models, they're not going to fit this nicely on a sheet. Typically, you're going to have to do multiple sheets. So maybe you do the front and the right side on one sheet, and then you do the left and the back on the other sheet. Or maybe it's so big, you need one sheet for each elevation. But for this purpose, we got them all on there, so that's good. All right, that's how you do exterior elevations. Let me know if you have questions.